Hi everybody, this is Mark at the Hall of Flame Museum of Firefighting. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, we are, did you guys know this, the largest historical firefighting museum in the world. And that means that we like to learn about and to teach about the history of firefighting, how they fought fires long, long ago, before your grandparents were born, before my grandparents were born. And that's a very important thing that we do here. But another thing we do here, it's even more important, is we try to teach you guys, kids, grown-ups too, fire safety, how to keep a fire hopefully from happening at all, but also so that you would know what to do and what not to do if unfortunately a fire ever did happen in your house or a building you were in. And one of the ways that we like to do that around here is with stories. So I don't know about you guys, I love stories. I don't know if you guys do. This is one of my favorite stories. It's called No Dragons for Tea. And it's a great story, not only because it's a fun, cool story, but also because it's great for teaching us all the most important rules of fire safety, okay? Now, No Dragons for Tea is the title. You guys know what tea is, right? It's something you drink, but in some parts of the world, tea is also what they call a meal. Like you or I, they drink so much tea that that's just what they call the meal. It's like you or I would say, we're gonna go have dinner, we're gonna go have supper, whatever. They would say, we're gonna go have tea. So it's kind of like saying no dragons for supper. So I will read you the story, and we'll show you the pictures, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. No Dragons for Tea by Jean Penzolol. One warm sunny day at the end of last week, my mom and I went for a walk to the creek. As I raced down the hill in my little red wagon, I veered to the left and smacked into a dragon. I suppose he could see there was fear in my eyes as I jumped to my feet, quite filled with surprise. He sheepishly grinned and stepped out of the way, but he seemed so polite that I asked him to play. He had a cute bear and some other toys too. With my shovel and pail, we'd have oodles to do. We ran to the creek and then on to the bay where we played on the beach for the rest of the day. Then Mom waved and said, now it's time to go eat. Let's pack the red wagon and head up the street. It's hard to stop playing with friends, old or new, so I asked if the dragon could come and eat too. Mom wrinkled her brow and squinted her eyes, looking up at the dragon's incredible size. I begged and I pleaded, then said, very sweet, we won't make a mess. We'll be tidy and neat. So, at last, she said, yes. Just this once I'll agree. You may have the dragon come over for tea. We had carrots and apples, thick slices of ham with fresh homemade biscuits and strawberry jam, cold glasses of milk, and a great big dill pickle. But the pepper we sprinkled sure made my nose tickle. Then the dragon's nose twitched, and he started to wheeze. His eyes misted up, and he blew. Ah, great! Can you guess the next word? That's right, sneeze. Achoo! Well, we all know what happens when dragons achoo. Flames shot from his mouth, and from both nostrils, too. The tablecloth sparked, and then burst into flame, and the curtains that hung right beside did the same. The smoke alarm rang. What a loud, piercing sound. It meant, get out fast, so I dropped to the ground. The room filled with smoke as I crawled on the floor and started to make my way to the front door. The dragon got scared and decided to hide, but I knew where there's fire, we must get outside. I grabbed his thick tail, and with one mighty tug, I pulled that big dragon from under the rug. I crept down the hallway and said, follow me. I know the way out. We must meet by the tree. So Mom and the dragon and I all met there. Then that silly old dragon went back for his bear. We ran up and caught him and wouldn't let go. And I said, listen, dragon, here's what you should know. Don't ever go back. That just will not do. We can get a new bear, but we can't replace you. Since the fire was burning inside of our home, we went to a neighbor's to borrow the phone. Mom knew what to dial. You guys know what to dial? In case you don't know, the number that you dial most places in the United States is 911. 911. Now, that's most of the United States. If you live in some other places, the number might be different. That's something you should ask your grown-ups about. But in America, in the United States, you call 911 if you need the fire department, if you need the police, if you need an ambulance, if it's what they call a life-threatening emergency. That's the number you call. 911. Very important you learn that. But you only call it if it's a real, true, no-kidding emergency. You never call it just because you're playing around or to check it out or anything like that, okay? But if it's a real emergency, 911. Okay, Mom knew what to dial, 911, and said, calm and clear, here's our full street address. Send the fire trucks here. Before very long, down our street they came sailing with bright red lights flashing and loud sirens wailing. The fire crew rushed to set work on their tasks. They were dressed in big boots and wore helmets and masks. They hooked up their hose and ran into the house where they sprayed streams of water in order to douse the table, the curtains, our lovely snack too. And it didn't take long till that fire was through. The fire chief called out the door with a shout, "The smoke made a mess, but the fire is out." My poor friend the dragon knew he was to blame, so he hung down his head and wept great tears of shame. One of the fire crew said, "Don't be sad, you knew what to do, and of that we're quite glad. You all got out safely, that's really what matters." Then she took us to see the big pump truck and ladders. The dragon put on a shiny red hat, and I asked to see where the fire crew sat. She showed us the sirens, the hoses and lights, and the ladders they climb up to reach higher heights. The rest of the fire crew checked all the rooms, while a fan in the door blew out gray smoke and fumes. Then, the dragon and we sat down for a while. I reached up and hugged him. He gave me a smile. The next time the dragon and I want to play, we'll pack up a picnic and go to the bay. We are friends, tried and true, the best we can be, but I'll never again invite dragons for tea. The end. Now, in this last picture, you think that was a good story? In this last picture, I want to show you something. Now that it's safe to go back in the house, the mom has gone back in and she found the dragon's teddy bear. So the dragon did not lose his teddy bear in the fire, which is great. But even if we knew for sure that the dragon was going to lose his bear in the fire, even if you knew you were going to lose your favorite thing in the fire, would that ever be a good reason to go back in and look for it? That's absolutely right. No. Never, ever, 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 ladies and gentlemen, go back into a burning house or a burning building. Once you're out, you just stay out. And guys, if you're ever in a burning house or a burning building, I hope you never are, but if you ever are, listen, there's a lot of great information in this story. I want you to remember as much of it as you can. But if you guys don't remember one other thing about watching this story time, this is what I want you to remember. If you are ever in a burning house or a burning building, 2 words: get out. Say it with me. Get out. Okay? Don't stop for any reason. Don't stop to get anything. Don't stop to call 911. I love that you know 911. I want you to know 911. Everybody has to learn that. But you don't stop to make that 911 call from inside the burning house or the burning building, okay? This goes for the grown-ups too, by the way. You don't stop. You get out, and then you worry about making that 911 call, maybe from a neighbor's house, maybe from a cell phone. If you have your cell phone with you, don't go looking for your cell phone. Like I said, for you guys, for kids, most of you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want a grown-up to make that call, okay? But you still have to know 911, just in case you're the only person around sometime that can make the call. But the main thing I want you to remember is, get out. Just get out of that house. Get out of that building. However you do it, get out, okay? Next most important thing. Once you're outside, it's 2 more words. Get together. Got to get together with your family, with your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, the babysitter, whoever the grown-ups are in your house. You got to get together with them. And the way you do that is just like they did in the story, is you've got to have a meeting place outside, okay? Now, some of you maybe already know your meeting place, but if you don't, this is something to talk over with your grown-ups. Where's our meeting place? Where's the place outside that we already know we're going to go if there is a fire or some kind of an emergency like that where everybody has to get out of the house? I don't want you to pick it out, but I want your grown-ups to pick it out, and I want you to know it. And if they don't know how to pick out a meeting place, a good meeting place outside, here's how you can tell them how they do it. It's got to be something that is a little ways away from the house. Most of the time, not always, but mostly, it's going to be different for everybody. But most of the time in the front yard, and the most important thing is, it's got to be something that's always in the same place. Just like in the story, they use a tree. Tree is a great meeting place, okay? A front gate, the mailbox if it's away from the house, a telephone pole, a bush. Now, what's not a good meeting place? The reason those are good is because they're always in the same place, right? What's not so good is something like a car, maybe, or a bicycle, or a skateboard or a wheelbarrow, whatever it is, something that could be there one time and it moves around, so it could not be there another time. So you want to have that meeting place like a tree or something. Now, why is this important? I'm going to tell you why. Let's say that you have a fire in your house. Hope you never do, but let's say you do, and you do exactly what you're supposed to do. You get right out of the house, but right away you go over to the neighbor's house or down the street somewhere, and you're fine. But your parents or your grandparents or whoever it is, they're out there looking around for you. They don't see you. Where do you think they might think you still are? That's exactly right. They might think you're still in the house. And they might think about going back into that house to look for you. And should they go back in? That's exactly right. No. Never, ever, nobody, grown up or little kid, should ever go back into a burning house or a burning building, okay? The only person you should ever see going into a burning house or a burning building is a fireman or a firewoman, and even they shouldn't do it unless they have all that gear that you see, with the big helmet and the mask and the turnout clothes and the oxygen tank and the gloves and the boots and all that. That's the only person that you should ever see going into a burning house or a burning building is a fireman or a firewoman with all their gear on. Everybody else just stays out. So if everybody goes to that meeting place, and that's where I'm going to be, then as soon as your parents or your grandparents come out, they see you standing there, then they know that everybody's out of the house. Now, a couple of other quick things. I'm wondering, do you guys think that you should ever hide from a firefighter? That's outstanding. That's exactly right. No. Never, ever, ever hide from a firefighter, okay? I'm glad that you know that, because believe it or not, you guys, some kids don't know that. Sometimes there are some kids who actually, they get so scared in the fire that they think that what they should do is hide. They think that, just like the dragon tried to do in the story, they hide under the bed or they hide in the closet or something, and the firefighters have to look for them, okay? I never want a firefighter to have to look for you. If you can get out of the house without that firefighter, great. Fantastic. Just get out on your own. But if you're trying to get out of that house and you see a firefighter, you know what some kids do? They get scared by the firefighters. They see the firefighter in that big mask coming into your house, it's like a monster or something, and they get scared and they might run away or hide or something like that. Don't do that. That mask and all that stuff, that's not about scaring anybody. That's just about protecting themselves from all that heat and fire. So if you see a fireman or a firewoman, even with all that big freaky looking gear on, go to that firefighter. They'll help you get out of that house. And if you can get out of the house by yourself, like I said, fantastic. Just get out on your own. Now, a couple more quick questions before we wrap this up. all right? You think it's ever okay to play with matches or lighters? That's exactly right. Never, ever, 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 ever play with matches or lighters or candles or the stove or the oven or fireworks or the fireplace or the microwave or the toaster or hair dryers, any of that stuff. Anything that gets hot or makes fire, don't play with it. And if other kids are playing with it, you guys, don't play with them, okay? And you know what else? You got to tell on them. You got to tell a grown-up. I know nobody wants to be a tattletale, and that's great. I admire that. But when it comes to something like where you're playing with fire, somebody's playing with fire, or you know, somebody could lose their house, somebody could get hurt, somebody could even get killed. That is too important. It's just too much. You got to tell a grown-up. Okay. Now, I don't think that I've been able to stump you guys on anything. I think you know most of this stuff, but still, it's always very important to go over this. So just remember, if a dragon wants to come over to your house for tea, think twice about it and make sure that he doesn't sneeze. All right? This is Mark, the Hall of Flame Museum of Firefighting, and thanks for hanging out with me for a while. Bye-bye.